we are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast. Bzzz. Hello everybody, I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast, Joel. Welcome to episode 66 of Joel the Podcast. We are here on November 9th, and it has been 6 days since Election Day. And as of Saturday, today's Monday, as of Saturday, most major news outlets have called the election in favor of Joe Biden. So, we were both correct in our predictions.
Yeah, but I was more correct, I think.
We'll see, because there's still 3 states yet to be called. Which are North Carolina, Georgia, and Alaska. And it looks like North Carolina and Alaska will both go to Trump. And Georgia has Biden in the lead right now by about 11,000 votes. And I believe they're currently in the process of a recount. So, if indeed Georgia goes red, then I believe the margin will be around 30 electoral votes, which would put me closer. But if not, it's about to be about 60 electoral votes, which would probably put you closer. So, although Georgia probably won't decide the election, it will decide which one of us was right.
And that's more important when you think about it.
Yeah.
I did want to comment as well with this result. I know we talked about this a lot last week, and I think kind of like the general narrative is this, which is that, obviously this was an election between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Obviously.
And, there's a whole lot of stuff going on with that. Certainly I think people on both sides have very strong opinions. But thinking about it in the past, because I spent much of the week just kind of waiting for results and thinking about it. I think kind of like under acknowledged in this entire election cycle is the fact that Kamala Harris is the vice president-elect,
right.
Which is historic. Obviously, America has never had a female president or vice president, so that's, I think, entirely
monumental,
washed out by
I think is the word you're looking for.
In fact, it is monumental, and by association, then we are in a monumental podcasting moment of being able to discuss this. So,
indeed,
good job, us. I think we should not forget that part.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is kudos to us, and we're probably, I would guess, the first podcast to discuss this. I don't think any podcast has discussed this monumental result yet, so let me be the first to say congratulations to Kamala Harris for becoming the first female vice president. And
yes.
My family and I were discussing so her husband, Doug, what will he be called? Because normally the person in that position is a woman, and she's the second lady.
Yeah.
So, will he be called the second man? Because that seems wrong. I feel like the analogous term would be second gentleman, but that's also a little weird. I heard Anderson Cooper say second dude, which is honestly not as bad as it seems like it should be.
I would be totally fine with that, honestly. I want to say that other countries have dealt with this issue already. So I'm gonna. That's an excellent question. I hadn't considered that at all.
Well, the thing is, I doubt most other countries call the spouse like the first whatever or the second whatever. So I'm guessing other countries may not have run into this. So send us an email with what you think he should be called. My dad said that we should just refer to him as First Gentleman of the United States, abbreviated to FGOTUS, or just the GOAT for short.
Okay. I'm liking that. I don't think you've had any. Obviously not specifically you, but I don't think there have been any bad proposals yet. So.
IDK, I think First Man is pretty bad.
First Man, okay. I mean, it's not like the best, but
I think it's bad.
I think it's less. First Lady is kind of like a. I don't know, maybe it's just because I've heard it all along, you know?
It just sounds very normal.
It just sounds very normal, and I think First Man has the same level of normality to it that First Gentleman doesn't, in my mind. Obviously, this is all very
I get what you're saying.
But I'm right,
sounds so... It just sounds so... the word I'm looking for is not really crass, but it doesn't really sound as elegant, I guess, is what I'm getting at, as First Lady. It's like First Lady, and then there's just First Man. It's like...
First Man.
I guess we're really talking about the second man at the moment, but sure. Terminology applies either way.
Well,
so
send us your thoughts. What should we call...
Wait a second, what should we call male
Mr.
spouses of...
I don't know what his name is.
His name is Doug. But I doubt his last name is Harris. I don't know for sure.
Oh, is it not?
I'm guessing that when they got married, Kamala Harris didn't change her name, because I'm guessing she was already... This is total speculation on my part, but I'm guessing she was already kind of an established politician, so she just didn't change her name.
His name is Doug Emhoff.
There you go.
So what do we call Doug?
Send us an email. Our email can be found on our website. What?
Oh, wait. By looking him up on Wikipedia, I have learned that he is husband of U.S. Senator and Vice President-elect of the United States, Kamala Harris. He is set to become the first second gentleman of the United States.
There you go.
So, I don't know if that's super official or what.
Well, there's no official. Like, it's not like it's like a title that some government body gives. It's just what people call them. So if people start calling him the First Gentleman, then that's what it'll be.
I mean, that seems to on both of the Wikipedia articles that I've looked at relevant to this topic. That's how it's not like this is a possible, proposed name. It's just like also known as. So the page that I've now made it to is second spouse of the United States, which I think is probably better than either term, just because it's simplest.
Right. Yeah, and it's gender neutral.
But then the page here says also known as second lady of the United States or second gentleman of the United States. So clearly those two are just equally valid. Like those are the two things that they're saying. Like these are the equivalent.
Right, and
names.
It makes sense because lady and gentleman are like the equivalent name terms.
Right. Yeah, and that is not super controversial. So I guess it makes a lot of sense. I think that this is the way the editor of this particular Wikipedia page.
Anyways, I've been trying to say, send us an email, which can be found at our website, which is alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website. Ooh, I thought I was going to have to breathe there, but I didn't.
Yeah, you made the mistake of, saying what you've been trying to say before you just went and said it. Usually it's just send us an email. But
yep, so... By the way,
words.
We'll be supervised this podcast by this cardboard cutout of my dad, which was at Citizens Bank Park during the baseball season.
Oh, that's really... So did you, or did he rather, request that to be the case, or did they...
No, it was just down here in this chair that I'm sitting in, so I just moved it over to the wall there.
I mean the fact that it was in the park.
Oh, yeah.
Not the fact that it's here now.
You have to... it costs, a small amount of money, and you give them a picture, and then they print it out on this cardboard and put it in the stands. and then I guess he got it after the season ended, which is pretty cool.
I want a cardboard cutout of myself now. I think just to put in my window.
Why do you want to put it in your window?
What else would you do with it?
Next time Shelby comes, just opens up the shower and it's just a cardboard cutout of you in there.
I mean, that's both excellent if it's someone else opening the shower, and I think very weird if it's me showering.
Right, well, you would probably put in, like, a closet if you were the only one there.
So you think if I
you know what?
bought a cardboard cutout of myself...
Go ahead.
How much is a cardboard cutout?
What you really want is, instead of a Bionicles closet, is a closet full of cardboard cutouts of yourself. I think that would be weirder than a Bionicle closet.
Yeah. That would definitely be weirder, I think.
It would be weirder unless you're a famous person who naturally has cardboard cutouts of yourself.
Right, like I could definitely see if you're like a celebrity and you know how they've got the, like if you're in a movie and they've got the cardboard cutout of you.
Right, I can definitely see collecting those.
You can like collect those from all of your movies.
Right.
Which, you know, if I'm ever in a movie, I'm gonna need a cardboard cutout of myself in whatever movie.
Right, and movie producers, you know, haven't heard from any about the many great movie ideas we've had, but you know, we were still open to selling the rights to any of these movies for reasonable sums of money.
And actually, I mean, Alex might demand a reasonable sum of money. I'm kind of leaning towards just give me a cardboard cutout and I'll do whatever.
Well, I bet they'll give us money. Like, if they would give us money and a cardboard cutout, why not bargain for that? And see, now by admitting that's all you want, you've lost bargaining power. But fortunately for you, I own half the rights, and I won't sell out for just a cardboard cutout. So
great, you will in fact now double your price and then give me half, so that it's, you know, essentially what it would have been initially. Right. And who can argue with that?
Well, maybe it'll be 60-40 since you gave away most of our bargaining power, or half our bargaining power.
See, I would be upset about that, but I already got my
But you already admitted
cutout,
that you don't care about the money, so...
Alright, here we go. Custom cardboard cutouts and life-size standees. Let's see. Starting at $54.99.
That's totally reasonable. Although, it may be expensive to fill up a closet of that.
Yeah, that definitely would be. I feel like you would want, like, 6? 6 would be a good number.
Well, the thing is, I feel like, so, click on the $54 one. Is it...
and this is just an ad on the website. It says
see if you can
figure out.
Navigate around and see if you can find their cheapest one, because I'm curious whether it would be like a full-body full-size, life-size cardboard cutout, or more like this one that I have here of my dad, which is just like maybe 3 feet high, 4 feet high.
Yeah.
And it's just like the upper half of his body. I bet that if you just got like 2 full-sized ones and then like 6 just like half ones, then that would be good, I think. And it might end up being cheaper.
Yeah. So what I'm doing now on this website is the process is upload your photo, select number of subjects and exact height, choose material, select speech bubble options, which is interesting.
This is way too much effort. I just want to know a quick number.
Well, it's $54.99. It seems to be anyway, except this says it's 1 inch tall. So let's make it 5 feet.
Here we go. I am
10 inches tall.
I am on cardboardcutoutstandies.com, and I'm looking at their pricing page. It's $54.99 to get a 0 to 3 foot cutout, so it's by height, it looks like.
Yeah, I just discovered that when I put in, you know, the height that I would want it, which is my height, because you would want it to be life size, the cost goes up to $131.
Right, $131 for their 5'1" to 6 foot, but they do have big head pricing. Let's see what this is. You can just get a cardboard cutout of your head, which is much cheaper. You can get one of them for $43, and it's 47 inches by 36 inches. That's pretty big. That's like 4 feet tall, and it's just your face. So, I think it would be good to get a few of those.
Wall decals on this website. I'm curious.
And there's also wall murals. And yeah, those are pretty expensive because they're pretty large.
Right, that makes sense. If the listeners want to donate to our Kickstarter campaign to give ourselves cardboard cutouts of ourselves,
and to play a hilarious prank on Shelby, which we will film and put on our... Oh, maybe not. She probably wouldn't like that, but we'll play a prank and tell you about it.
You'll get the podcast description post prank, which I mean, that's gotta
just
be
as
equally
good, I think.
Right? So an equivalently sized wall decal is only $89.99. So yeah, I don't know. There's many options here. I'm sure we could find the best option. I say, just for our listeners to play it safe, just donate as much money as you possibly can. And, if it's more money than we need, we'll just buy multiples of whatever it is.
Right, and for the big heads...
And the prank will be better.
Go ahead.
I'm finished.
Oh. For the big heads, you get a discount if you order more. So, for examples,
really?
Yeah. So if we want to go... So I think the 36 inch is big enough while still being... And it's cheaper. It's like significantly cheaper.
Tight?
And if we get... Yeah, it's like 3 feet tall. Yeah. And if we get more than one, they're only $21.99 each. So
really, it's just more than one, and it's a discount.
Right. So 1 is $27.99, 2 to 24, $21.99, 25 to 74, $16.99, 75 or more, $13.99. So I mean, if we get enough money, I think we can just order
money if we don't.
We don't order 75 36-inch big heads of ourselves.
Here's the real question, though. If we do order, just to make the example simple, if we order 2 of them to get the $21 price, do they have to both be the same head, or could it be one of each of us?
So they do. There's actually a different pricing down here for like different people. So...
Oh, interesting. Because what I'm most curious, I assume that the discount in pricing, to some extent, is because once you have the one thing, printing it a bunch of times just doesn't increase the cost by that much. So.
Right. So if you order 36-inch heads again, and different people, then it's $22.39 for 10 or more. Each $22.39 each. So yeah, just donate $223.90, and we can each get 5 3-foot tall cardboard cutouts of our faces. I think that's a pretty good cause.
Yeah, I mean, in this room alone, I think I could fit all 5. So that would definitely solve my interior decorating issues.
Yeah, I can't think of a single interior decorating issue that this doesn't solve, so... Alright, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, I wanted to remind everyone that Nathan does not owe me $1.
Alex does not owe me $1.
But we are a week away from that changing one way or another, I believe, right?
Right, the bet was about Northwestern, right? Not the
right.
Electoral College?
Yes, the bet was about Northwestern.
Okay, so... In 1 week, we will see. I still have no idea how good any of the teams in the Big Ten are, except Ohio State is good.
And Penn State is bad, as we found out this weekend.
Penn State is apparently bad.
Which leads us into our next segment of sports. So yeah, Penn State lost to Maryland in a blowout. It wasn't even close.
I was amazed, actually, that The final score was like closer than it actually was too, right? I think they just kind of let Penn State score at the end.
Yeah, I didn't. Once I saw the score, I didn't really watch much of it. So, but yeah, and this comes 1 year after Penn State beat Maryland 59-0. So,
right.
Rip Penn State. They're now 0-3.
Yeah, I think they lost to Indiana on the fluke that first week. We talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So, back then we were still thinking like, oh, they played a better game than Indiana. They just, got unlucky.
They played
at the end
a way better game than Indiana.
Yeah. And then they lost to Ohio State, and we were just, what do you expect?
They got killed by Ohio State, but Ohio State's really good, right? So.
Right. But then they got beat by Maryland almost as bad, and I don't think Maryland is that good. So.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
So Penn State, they may never win another game again.
That would be pretty funny. I would.
Well, it would be funny for a little while, but then sad.
Well, if you liked Penn State, I suppose, yeah. I think it would continue to be funny.
No, the thing is, any team that I don't actively dislike, I would feel bad if they just lost every game for the rest of eternity.
I think so. I think there are certain degrees of... Like, some teams I like, and I want them to do well.
Right.
Some teams I dislike, and I don't want them to do well. But that, like, the middle teams, I want them to go to one extreme or the other. Which is basically, I want them to be interesting.
Right.
I want them to be really good, like have a great season, and it's really interesting and exciting to see how well they do.
Right.
Because, I don't really care about them anyway, and as long as they're not actively being bad to Purdue or something like that, then, I don't care.
Right.
Or, I want them to be exceptionally bad, especially when the expectation is they were good, which is the case right now for Penn State. For the past few seasons, they've been a very good team.
Right.
So to watch them just completely fail this season has been really interesting, I think. I'm curious how long it can continue.
Right, and I totally agree with you, but I just think it would be fun to watch them lose for, like, a season or a few seasons. But after, imagine, 50 seasons from now, Penn State has not won a game since last year.
That would be... incredible. Can you believe? I would be so excited for every Penn State game.
It would be interesting, but it would be depressing. I would feel bad for them. So,
all right.
Yeah,
I would feel bad. I would feel bad for the players. I think in general, I do feel bad for the players if it's not,
I would also feel bad for the fans because
I don't really care about the fans.
I'm a big fan of teams, and I know that when they lose, I feel sad, so I can't imagine being an actual fan of a team that never wins a game. I would empathize with that. Not that I've ever, not that ever actually happens, but
yeah.
All right.
It'd certainly be depressing, but not for me.
Right. So, speaking of blowouts, New Orleans blew out Tampa Bay last night.
Oh man, I saw that earlier today. I was just looking through, YouTube as I do, and one of the videos was Tom Brady lowlights from that game.
Yep.
And I clicked on that and was just I had no, obviously those are both decent teams doing well currently. I thought they would it'd be an interesting game, but
yeah,
again it was hilarious because Tampa Bay did so poorly.
It's honestly mind-boggling. I didn't really watch the game, but their offense has seemed so good this year. It's very surprising that they would do so poorly.
Didn't they just get a couple of new players as well?
They just got Antonio Brown. This is his first game. I don't know how well he did, but
probably not that well.
Probably not that well. Yeah, good call.
That's my informed guess.
That's a good guess. Cool. Any other sporting games you wanted to mention?
Depressing as it might be, I think we should mention how well Indiana is doing.
Yeah, it's really annoying. They really look pretty good.
Yeah, I fully expect them to be genuinely good, and also I think the Purdue-Indiana game will be competitive.
I think it will be extremely close.
As is tradition, no matter how good either team is.
Yep. So...
but this, I only call... Normally I would be content to just let them, be good off in the corner without having to acknowledge them. But this week in particular, they beat Michigan, who is having a really rough time this season. First of all, this is the first time that Indiana has beat Michigan since 1987.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's incredible. I think the other, similar win streak against Indiana is Ohio State.
Right.
I don't know exactly what the length of that one is, but I don't really expect that one to change. But it was incredible that after over 30 years of losing to Michigan, no matter how good either team was, Indiana has finally managed to pull it off. So
bad job,
don't expect
Indiana.
us to talk about them any more than that, but there you go.
And you saying that reminds me of that last game that I think I want to mention, which is the Notre Dame-Clemson game.
Ooh, I forgot about that one. I actually watched some of that. It was very good.
Which Notre Dame won in double overtime. And it was Clemson's first regular season loss since 2017.
Yeah, I that's insane. They've been so good. I remember, so around 2015, 2016 is when I got, actually interested in college sports because I was in college.
Uh-huh.
And I remember at that point, obviously, Alabama was the team,
Right.
And, obviously they're still one of the top few teams every single year, which is super annoying. But Clemson at that point seemed like kind of this underdog having a great run,
right.
And I remember...
Yeah, I remember exactly what you're talking about,
title
actually.
games with Deshaun Watson, watching him, barely pull it out against Alabama, and we're like, oh, he's so great.
What an upset.
And now incredible. And now they've been as good or better over the last 4 years. They've become
Alabama.
Well. Yeah, so that's another... They're another one of those teams where I want them to lose every week because they're good. But at the same time, it's so interesting how many times they've not lost.
Right.
So I think this was kind of the best case scenario for them in my mind. They lost a very, very close game without their starting quarterback, who is one of the best players in the country.
Right.
So it'll be really interesting to see what happens for the rest of their season. And I assume they will, make the playoff anyway.
Right, I mean, the thing is...
they lose to Notre Dame a second time or something.
Losing in double overtime to the number 4 team in the country is not really, grounds to put them below anyone who's not undefeated, I think.
No.
So, and probably over many people who are undefeated. So, I think they'll certainly still be in good position moving forward.
My guess is they will be number 3, with Notre Dame rising to 2. And I think it's Alabama right now at 2, who will move to 1. And then I guess that would put Ohio State at 4, unless they... No, Ohio State will be at 4.
Well, the rankings probably came out today, right?
Probably so.
So we can just check
I guess we
your
can...
predictions right now, live on the podcast.
We obviously didn't look at them beforehand, but...
Here we go. 1 Alabama, 2 Notre Dame, 3 Ohio State, 4 Clemson. You almost had it.
Very close. I guess I can't really argue with that either, though, honestly, because Ohio State is undefeated. I just figured since they've only played 3 games so far this season that
right.
they probably wouldn't.
Right. And at number 5, Texas A&M. That's something I didn't know.
That's actually very funny. Or is it? Let me forget. I forget which way this game went, but Texas A&M and Florida have played each other this season. And, oh no, it was Texas A&M that beat Florida. Okay. I was going to say, they both have one loss, and I'm pretty sure one of their loss was to the other one. And I thought for a second that they were out of order there, based on that.
And of course we have,
in fact, not.
Wisconsin here at 13 at 1-0 here in November. Which has got to be really frustrating if you're and it's like a team below them. I see USC here 20 at 1-0.
Yep.
And no need to mention where IU is. All right.
Wow. That's very high.
Yeah, no need to say that. So I guess we should move on out of the intro here because it's been like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I told you it was going to be a long intro.
Yeah, you were right. I was kind of surprised because there was no Purdue game and no Eagles game to talk about. So
we just, given our interest in sports, we just went on every other game, and our listeners were like,
what the fuck? I mean, honestly, at least 15 minutes of it was not sports, so...
No, it was politics, which you really don't get that often in our podcast.
So right, so...
Enjoy it while you can.
Indeed. And it wasn't really politics, it was just, news, honestly. Let's state some facts.
Yeah, it was definitely news. And debate over what to call Doug.
Yep.
I already forget his last name.
A bunch of research about cardboard cutouts. All right. Already forgot about that.
Forgot. Now I'm excited about it again, though. So
let's start the episode. We thought we haven't been doing a random topic generator episode in a while, and no listeners have emailed us to give us any feedback on what we should do. So we're just going to do random topic generator again.
Our podcasts for the past couple weeks have just seemed too coherent, you know?
Yeah.
Especially the one where the title is just 30 W's.
What even was that?
I don't know. It was I don't remember what the rest of the podcast... No, I think it was a Quora episode.
Was it 2 episodes ago? 64?
2 episodes ago. And there was
it was Quora.
2 total minutes of the podcast where we talked about W's, and I just... I like that a lot.
Why did we talk about that? I don't even remember. Was there a person who was like, how do you write a W or something?
How do you write a W with 4 lines?
With 4 lines, right? Alright, sorry.
I mean, honestly, the response is just, how do you write a W not using 4 lines? That's how W's are. But anyway, we don't need to go over that again.
Yeah, that was
We've
pretty funny.
already got a conclusive episode on it, so... Go listen to that again if you haven't already. Or if you have already. And don't forget to like and subscribe and comment and buy us some cardboard cutouts of our own heads.
Or just donate so we can buy them.
Yeah, that'd be... I mean, honestly, that's kind of second best in my mind. If somebody were to ship me a cardboard cutout of my own head, that's definitely better than somebody giving me money so that I can do it myself.
I just hope it's a good picture.
I hope it's the podcast picture. Those
are just so low res, it's so zoomed out from our faces that I don't think you could get a good picture of our face from that. It would be extremely pixelated.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and recreate that picture, except zoom in on our heads.
Right.
Speaking of that picture, though, go ahead if you're going to wrap up on that.
I was just saying, and also take pictures of our eyes close up so we can put them on the Patreon or wherever we were supposed to do that 2 years ago. All right, go ahead.
I was just gonna comment actually that the last 2 episodes I noticed took particularly long to render, and then the file sizes were 10 times larger than usual.
That's weird.
And I realized that instead of the normal resolution that it exported all the other episodes in, my video software actually exported the 2 past videos in the resolution of that image, which is 3,500 pixels by 2,500
nice.
pixels. So if you had a very clear image of us while you were listening to the podcast last week, you're welcome.
Yeah, and
I'm going to try and not do that again because it took like 2 hours and it's a 15 gigabyte movie.
And oh geez, and that probably means anyone like streaming that from their phones is going to take a lot of data if they're not on Wi-Fi. So
I think YouTube would compress it.
Oh, YouTube
but
would probably compress
know.
it. No, you're definitely right about that.
And I mean the real thing to consider is it's literally just the one image.
Since it's one image, any reasonable compression algorithm should make that like nothing. So all right. Let's.
But if that did impact your data bill, it's going to continue being like that probably, unless I remember to change some things.
Right, and hopefully the increase in pixels will allow someone to maybe see that little thing that we put in when we.
That's a really good point.
No one has ever mentioned that or emailed us about that, so don't know if anyone's ever noticed it.
The problem on YouTube is if I zoom into the website, it like makes the video stay the same size as I zoom.
So.
But since I know exactly where to look, I can tell you that it is visible. I just don't know if you can read it, especially on YouTube where it's probably pretty low
You've just revealed that it's words. I can't believe you would do something like that. All right, let's begin the podcast now that we're 36 minutes in.
The podcast under Joel.
Yep.
Nobody's ever noticed that before.
You have to zoom in to see it, so it's like
it's very secretive.
Here's topic number 1: tennis.
Tennis. My brother plays tennis, and my dad used to play tennis as well. I guess he still does play tennis, but he used to play like in high school.
When I went and played tennis with my family on Saturday, and we made the poor choice of going to a tennis court that faced east-west-ish because the sun was setting directly in the eyes of one side of the court.
Right.
So it was not a great time. But I do like tennis.
Yeah, tennis is good. I'm just not good at tennis. I'm not like bad at tennis. You know, I think our racquetball skills probably translate to a little bit of tennis ability.
Uh-huh.
But I just don't have the instinct of how to play tennis.
Right.
So, like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and it's been, like, 2 years since I've played racquetball.
Right.
So, I mean, my racquetball skills may be somewhat dulled.
We really should have tried to play racquetball.
While we were together.
When you and Joel were here.
Yeah, we should have.
I don't know if anywhere would have been
open.
I mean, probably so. It might have been kind of expensive to get a day pass to a gym or something.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have been too bad. Oh well, hindsight is 2020. Do you have any other thoughts about tennis?
Next time.
Yeah, we'll do it next time. Do you have any other thoughts about tennis?
It's got a really weird scoring system.
Yeah, I wonder how that came about.
I don't know. But it's not, like, good.
I guess.
It's not any better than just counting up the numbers. I guess the one thing it does do is you can talk about the score of... I don't know any of the terminology. There's, like, the game, right? And then there's a set and a match.
Yep.
Is that from like... So the game is like you playing tennis.
The game is like whoever gets the game point after 40 first, right?
Right.
And then the set is whoever wins 7 games first, I believe. And then match is, I believe, whoever wins... It's either best 2 out of 3 sets or whoever wins 3 sets first. I don't remember which.
Yeah, I mean those numbers probably vary, but at least okay. So now that we've got the terminology down, the 15, 30, 40, whatever it is, match point, game point certainly, right? Because it's a game. That stuff is easily distinguishable from the number of sets,
right? So
that you're counting up to. So I suppose it does make sense in that you can say, 15-30, and that's clearly a game score, and you can also say 3-5, and that's clearly
a match, right? Set score, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's exactly right. So
okay, I guess maybe it's not that dumb, but it's still a little dumb. You could just
the thing is, it's weird, but it's really
numbers.
not that much worse than just counting up the numbers. So it's like, why not do it? So
I guess so there's two small comments I guess I want to continue to make there on that point though. First of all, it's not like a set increment. It's 15,
right,
and then 15 more to 30,
right,
but then only 10 more to 40.
Right.
Why not just go to 45? If
right.
you play tennis, please answer that question for me.
Well, if you know the answer, not just if you play tennis, because I play tennis and I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, fair enough. The other thing is, I was going to compare it to some other sports like football, where things are, it's not just counting up 1, 2, 3, 4. But that has a meaning. Like, different things get you different numbers of points.
Right.
Tennis, it's one thing that gets you either 10 or 15 points depending on how many points you had.
Right.
I don't know. I still think it's kind of dumb.
It is dumb. No, it is dumb. I just don't. My point is just that it's not that much worse than just counting up numbers. Like if you play like more than a few games, it's not like you'll forget what the numbers that you have to get to are. So it's just like 15, 30, 40, boom.
That part was pretty easy to remember when I played with my family, but I think the problem was I would then never remember what the set scores were by the time we finished a couple of games.
Well, you're supposed to say
we kept switching sides of the court and switching who was serving and moving around. It's very I didn't know what I was doing. I think I said that already.
All right. Well, I think we should move on to the next topic.
Sure.
Vegetables.
Next? Vegetables? Didn't we talk about vegetables the first time?
I really have no recollection of what we talked about the first time.
All right. Vegetables really aren't that good.
Yeah, they suck. All right, number 3, submarines.
Submarines. That's interesting. I have spent the night on a submarine before.
Really? Was it underwater?
No.
Oh. That's less exciting.
Yeah, it was pretty uncomfortable.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's very... in a submarine, there's not a lot of space.
Right.
So you've got several layers of bunk bed. I think you probably only have like a foot or two above you to the next bed.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were probably long enough, and also I was kind of younger, so it doesn't. I wasn't as tall. I didn't need to, stretch out quite as much.
Right.
But it was. I'm gonna look it up. The submarine was called the USS Silversides.
The thing is, submarines are like a cool technology, but it just feels like it would be terrible to actually live on one for any extended period of time.
Yeah, they're super interesting because they, essentially just stay underwater indefinitely with, as long as their supplies last.
Right.
But you've got to be recycling your air all that time. You've got to, have power all that time. They're all nuclear, which is really, really interesting. And they were like built that way 70 years ago.
Right.
So, or probably even older than that. I don't know. This one in particular that I'm remembering was from World War II. So.
Yeah. So, submarine's cool, just not being on one.
Definitely better than vegetables.
Definitely.
I've got roughly the same amount of experience with them as I do with tennis, but I think I like tennis better.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather spend 1 month eating only vegetables or 1 month living on a submarine?
1 month living on a submarine, for sure.
Okay, and as a follow-up, does changing the amount of time, does increasing the amount of time change your answer? Like, is there a certain point where you would rather just eat vegetables than live on a submarine, or no?
I don't think so, because you got to think of the two extremes, right? Like, 1 day on a submarine or 1 day eating only vegetables. A day on a submarine really isn't all that bad, and a day of vegetables would be just a day of unpleasant meals.
Right. And
on the other hand, 80 years on a submarine versus 80 years eating vegetables.
I think I would
do you want to never eat anything but vegetables or live on a submarine for your entire life? I guess that is kind of bad. Maybe I would just take the vegetables.
I would take the vegetables for my entire life, so the question is, where is the line?
Okay. No, I think I'm kind of agreeing with you now. Let's see.
I
10
think
years? Yeah, I would take the vegetables.
I think my line is much shorter. I think it's maybe like, would I rather live in a submarine for 1 year or eat only vegetables for, I think I still gotta go submarine.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. I think my tipping point is somewhere around 5 years, maybe 4 years.
Mine's less than 5 years, but I agree with the ballpark. I don't know. Can I go 2 years on a submarine?
I'm thinking about it like college, right? Like, college is a difficult thing that you do for 4 years. And
right.
Is being on a submarine any more difficult than being in college?
It certainly is, because you can't ever, like, whoever you're with them for the entire time, right? And
I guess so. That's how
submarines probably don't have any internet access, I'm guessing, so...
No, they have to, right? How do they do anything?
Like what?
A modern submarine probably has internet? How would it have internet?
It has some form of communication, obviously.
So, but internet, the signal would definitely be terrible, right?
At the very least, you're not going to be like streaming anything.
Yeah, because if you're like too deep inside a concrete building, you stop getting any sort of signal. So, like, if you're in the ocean somewhere, you're definitely limited to probably some sort of radio signal.
Right. I'm guessing that at the very least, the vast majority of your entertainment has to be like offline entertainment. So what?
I was starting to look up, do submarines have internet? And the Google, I typed in "do submarines," and the Google search suggestions are: do submarines have windows? Do submarines have Wi-Fi? Do submarines have escape pods? Do submarines have engines? Do submarines swim? Do submarines have showers? Do submarines have gyms? And do submarines have to surface?
Do submarines swim?
That one's definitely my favorite.
That's pretty good.
Let's see what it says. Do submarines swim?
No, I want.
Submarine does not.
They obviously don't. I want to know if they have internet.
All right. Do submarines have internet?
By the way, it's a totally doesn't matter, but it's one of those terminology things where when you know what it is, it's like annoying. It's like when people say Wi-Fi when they mean internet.
Right.
It's like, well, your Wi-Fi cannot connect to the internet. So, sure, they could have Wi-Fi if they wanted. May not connect to anything other than each other's computers.
So this is an answer from Quora, so take it with a grain of salt because we didn't answer it.
Right.
Even when
did you check if we answered it?
I don't remember answering it, but let me look.
Well, we've answered so many questions, I just thought it'd be good to check.
This is an answer that was originally posted on March 18th, 2014, before we met each other.
Yeah, okay.
By Jim Gordon, so it doesn't sound like us.
Right, probably not.
Be.
I think it's possible that it's us from the future time traveling back to 2014, but I think it's probably safe to assume for now that it's not us.
Yeah, that's a compelling... Okay, but yeah, okay, Anyway, even when a submarine is on the surface, says Jim, the crew's access to the internet is severely restricted. All naval vessels limit their electronic emissions, including transmissions by radio, to reduce the likelihood that their movements can be tracked. And it goes on for a few more paragraphs. Obviously, Jim,
quote unquote Jim,
Jim, if that is his real name, has some experience with submarines. But it sounds like, I mean, that answer I think is kind of targeted toward like military submarines, you know, like naval operations. Obviously you want to be secretive, but I don't think there's not a whole lot of like civilian submarines, right? I guess they would be,
I don't know
like,
why there would be any.
Maybe?
Yeah, scientific, or there could be submarines that would maybe maintenance any underwater like structures or infrastructure. That would be possible. But yeah, I would say the vast majority of submarines are all military, so that makes sense.
I did find a company called Triton Submarines that apparently sells you submarines.
I think I have to agree with you. No, maybe not. I think I would draw the line at around 3 years, which is pretty close to what you said.
Okay, we're in that same sort of ballpark.
I definitely think I could survive 2 years. So, all right. Let's move on to the next topic.
Wait a minute.
What?
No, move on. I'll come back to it in a minute.
Okay, the next topic is smoking, and I don't really think either of us have much to say about this since we don't smoke.
Right, I've got generally negative feelings towards smoking.
Let me ask you this: even though you do not smoke and have no interest in doing so, do you think people who smoke? Do you think smoking looks cool?
I mean, sort of. It's definitely, like, associated with a certain kind of cool.
Right.
I don't think it's an important part of that aesthetic, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, I don't think I personally think it's cool, but I think it's kind of neutral. Like when I see someone smoking, I'm not like, wow, I think that makes them look worse. Right. But I also don't think, wow, that makes them look cooler. So I think it's kind of a neutral thing. And side note, I do think smoking cigars looks cool. So
cigars are definitely much cooler. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Any sort of like fancier smoking experience that isn't just like your 17th cigarette of the day is...
Well, no, I actually don't agree with that. I think cigars look cool, cigarettes are neutral, and then if you're smoking a pipe, I think that looks pretty bad. I think pipes look... Yeah, I think pipes make you look like a nerd, which is weird. I don't know why I think that, but it's like the nerd smoking when you could be smoking something cool like a cigarette or cigar. You're smoking a pipe.
That's so strange. I would put cigarettes at the absolute bottom of the list.
Right.
Cigars are cool, and I think you can have like a neutral pipe, or you can have like a classy pipe, which is better than a cigar.
I guess you could have a classy pipe. It's not really the same thing as being cool.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
but classy
I can
pipe.
see where you're coming from. Like, I don't think I'm going to argue with you about it, but I definitely don't feel the same way.
The thing is, I just feel like anyone who's smoking a pipe and trying to be classy about it is just a poser. Like, actual classy people don't smoke pipes. It seems like seems like a caricature of classiness is honestly what it seems like to me. Sure. So, all right.
Just to come back to this submarine thing really quick, I had found, like I said, Triton Submarines. But they're clearly one of those companies that just doesn't advertise prices, because if you have to ask,
you can't afford it.
So I'm curious to know how expensive this submarine is, because it looks very cool. Unfortunately, it's probably like $2 million at least. So
right. Yeah, I worked for a company that made products for kind of like all ranges of markets, but most of their money came from high-end markets, because people who like buy from that market basically just say, to someone, hey, go buy me the best whatever this is. And then, so you can basically you can't charge whatever you want, but you can charge pretty extravagant prices if you are in the running for being the best in the business. So anyway, let's talk about the next topic, which is crime.
Crime. I think a couple episodes. The last time we did this, we talked about murder or murderers. I don't remember which.
Uh-huh.
And if you remember, our conclusion, or my conclusion at least, was something along the lines of, it's usually bad, but that's not universal. And I think that's probably true for crime in general as well.
Right. Yeah, that's probably true.
In fact, it's probably more true for crime, because I think you can argue that, like, murder is intrinsically wrong.
I would argue that.
There are some crimes that are not intrinsically wrong, they're just wrong because there's laws against them.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I wonder how many, like what percentage of crimes committed are actually evil actions versus just breaking the law. And I'm honestly curious what percent. I mean, there's no way to actually collect statistics about this, but I wonder what percentage of crimes people actually get caught for. Like, because the thing is, the largest crime in the United States for sure has to be speeding. Like,
right, yeah.
Unless that's not a crime, maybe it's just like less than a crime. I don't know what the term for that is. I feel like a misdemeanor is a crime, so I guess speeding is a crime. Okay. I'm thinking of is
maybe it's a civil infraction, which might be different than a crime in legal terms, because crime makes me think of criminal law, which I mean. It almost certainly has to be, right? That's the root of the word. So. Right,
so I think that's what I'm thinking of. So maybe speeding isn't a crime. So what do you think is what is a crime? What's the most often committed crime?
Theft, maybe? Would that really be the most common, though? That's a lot of
theft is a good one.
Maybe it's some sort of assault.
I bet theft happens more often than assault. Because
vandalism?
Oh, vandalism's a good one. Vandalism's a good one. Because I'm looking for, like, the thing is, there's, like, assault is a crime where it's, like, most people, like, that are in their right minds are never gonna do that.
Right.
Like, you have to either be in, like, rare circumstances where normal people would be driven to that, or just kind of crazy. Whereas theft, like, you know, people can convince themselves that that's fine and do that. Like pirating, that's a big one that probably occurs a lot and is probably a crime. That might just fall under theft, in which case I would say theft is definitely the biggest.
Yeah, I think that actually right there might put me back on theft.
But vandalism is another good one because, you know, if you go through a city or like any reasonably populated area, you'll see tons of like graffiti. So, and that's just graffiti. There's also other types of vandalism, such as, you know, covering up street art or, you know, art that you think is bad, and then starting a gang, and then... Sorry. Alright.
Did that actually make it into an episode? Or is that just gonna make no sense? I don't remember if we managed to...
I think that was the episode where we lost some of my audio, so I went and recreated it, and then we were missing some other audio, so we ended up not even doing it at all.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone's going to get that, except for maybe David, because I think he was... No, that was just us. That was just us, right?
Yeah, we've never done a movie with anyone else. They were just us, and they were ruined each time, so...
Right. That was a pretty good movie, though.
It did turn out really well, and I think we had some good, some pretty
jokes
solid
with the
jokes.
cops with the
Good
donuts
setup.
everywhere.
Oh man. That makes okay. I know we said we wouldn't, but I kind of want to do another movie next week now.
All right.
Maybe we need a witness. Maybe David or someone else. If you're listening to this and you want to help us create another movie.
That's a rule, right? We can't actually do a movie with no one else there.
It actually might be a rule. You're right. I don't remember if it is or not, but if it's not, it should be. So
I'm like 90% sure it's a rule, but I'll look it up while we're going on to the next topic, which is pineapple.
Pineapple. Okay, there's two main thoughts about pineapple, I think. The primary thought is pineapple on its own, which is definitely good. The second main thought is probably the thing that everyone is thinking of right now, which is pineapple on pizza.
Right.
Which is also good, but more controversial.
So, my thing about pineapple on pizza is, not obviously, but I have no problem with people liking pineapple on pizza.
Right.
I don't think I've ever had pineapple on pizza. I tend to be more of a pizza purist. Like, just want plain pizza or only one or two toppings. But
Sure.
I don't necessarily think pineapple on pizza would taste bad to me. Like, I can see it tasting good. And actually, where I really love... what a dish that I've really loved pineapple is when we've gone to that Mongolian grill place that I already forgot the name of.
Hoo-ha?
Yes. And you can get pineapple in your dish, and I think it's really good in that.
Yes. That's definitely a good compliment to those flavors.
So, pineapple is good. Also, rule number 4 is the rule we were referring to. So, it is indeed a rule that we cannot do a movie with just ourselves.
Good. So next time someone reaches out and expresses any interest in okay, that just reminded me of something which I meant to mention in the intro, which is that during this past week, Alex Trebek died.
Oh, rip, yeah.
I want to dedicate this episode in honor of Alex Trebek, the honorary third Alex in all of our episodes.
That we've never mentioned before until episode 66.
It's really the perfect time to introduce him, like right when it's relevant.
Yeah, Alex was good pals with us. He's emailed the podcast many times, and we just forgot to mention it every single time. I feel like I want to end this with like saying something, and the thing that comes to my mind is congratulations, but that's definitely not appropriate at this moment.
No.
So rest in peace, I guess is what I'm going for.
Rest in peace, Alex Trebek. You had such an incredible legacy on this podcast, especially. What made me bring that up at this moment was I was going to say that the next time we have a guest, we should do another episode of Joel Purdy in memory of Alex Trebek. What a great rule.
Sorry, I just saw it and I had to share it. I absolutely agree. So I guess what we're saying is if you want to come on the podcast, let us know whether you would rather do Joel Purdy in honor of Alex Trebek or a movie, because we want to do another one. So, all right. That leaves us with the next topic, unless you have anything else to say about pineapples.
Actually, I did want to say one more thing about pineapples, which is that I am currently growing a pineapple plant.
Really?
Which I did by taking the leafy part off of a pineapple.
Right.
And, that's the start of the plant. It grows a new one.
Really?
And apparently, in 2 to 3 years, it will grow one single pineapple. And that's how pineapples are grown.
Wow, that is rough.
Yeah. So I'm very excited for that pineapple that I grew myself.
Well, good luck with that. It'll probably. I hope. Have you verified that it's like growing properly and everything?
Yep, it looks pretty. I can actually go and grab it right now while you kind of introduce the next topic, and you can see it, and maybe we'll even insert a picture of the pineapple into the episode so that
if we're feeling frisky,
viewers can see it as well. Yeah.
By the way, I'm guessing that you did not. I don't even remember what it was. A few episodes ago, we made a joke where you would post something we would post something somewhere that would make no sense. Oh, it's your drawings of W's, I think.
Yes.
You were going to post that somewhere in advance of the release of the podcast.
And I didn't do it in advance, but I did replace the image of... I replaced our typical cover art with the scanned-in image of W's. And David complimented us on that, so I think maybe that's something we should do in the future more.
For the whole episode, or just that part?
The whole episode. It's just
all right.
Instead of the picture of us, it's just some W's, and it doesn't make sense until like 2/3 of the way through.
Right.
And then, so maybe we'll do that again with the pineapple picture. Let me go grab the pineapple. So.
All right, I'll move on.
Turning it over to you for a little bit here.
I'll move on to the next topic here, which is windmills, and. Wow, that was just loud. I don't know if it was loud to the listeners, but him putting his earbuds down was loud to me. Anyway, windmills. My first thought about windmills is that most people call wind turbines windmills when they're not really mills. And it kind of annoys... It's another pedantic thing, which I probably should stop saying them because it probably makes me sound kind of like a jerk. But, yeah, so most wind... things that you see are wind turbines, which generate electricity, and not windmills, which are used to ground, like, grain and stuff. So I'm hoping that you just put your earbuds in to hear me say grain and stuff.
That's exactly what just happened. What are you talking about?
The topic is windmills, and I was talking about how actual windmills are used to grind up grain and stuff rather than generate electricity, which is wind turbines.
The mill. Yeah, that makes sense.
Indeed. So let's see the pineapple plant here.
Here it is.
It looks like a pineapple, but instead of... It's honestly kind of funny because the structure of a pineapple is like the fruit and then the leafy part, and you just have the leafy part on top of like a pot.
Right.
Right. So it's kind of... Looks like you just replaced the pineapple fruit with the pot. So, hopefully... I'm not going to say we. Hopefully you'll remember to post the picture of that with this episode. What are your thoughts on windmills?
I don't know that I have many thoughts on
or
windmills.
Wind turbines.
Okay, I do have some thoughts on wind turbines. I was going to say, when you first said windmills, I was going to say, I've got some windmill thoughts. But then you explained how windmills and wind turbines are different.
Right,
things.
I expect that it probably meant wind turbines because there are no windmills really anymore. We just have factories that process grain.
Right. So anyway, wind turbines, which are, really windmills when you think about it, indirectly. There's like a whole bunch of them in Indiana, like kind of middle Indiana, around where Purdue is, like a little bit west of Purdue. There's just a whole ton of them all over Benton County, Indiana, which is where my grandparents live. And they all, at night, when you're driving through, they'll be lining both sides of the road, and they all blink in
They have like a light
unison
on the top of the windmill so that planes don't fly into them at night, I assume.
Right. Yeah, I guess so.
That's the end of your comment?
Yes, I like the windmills. I'm very used to the windmills.
And this story, I know you've heard, and if Ben's listening, he probably knows this story, but the first time I came to visit Purdue, you have to drive through a field of windmills, because I flew into Chicago, then you drive down I-65, and I did not know what they were, and it was dark, so you can't really see the windmills, the wind turbines, you just see the lights. It was, I don't know, I don't really think it was scary, because I wasn't really scared. I was just baffled by what it could possibly be. It was so weird.
Right.
And it's such a... And because the thing is, it's like, we're trying to visit Purdue, you know, we're driving there, it's like midnight or later, so tired, and driving through this, is a very weird experience. And then the second time, I knew what they were, and it was still weird, but, so I guess that's to add on to your story.
They're very large, too. You don't really get the sense of it when you're driving along and they're just kind of off in the fields.
Right.
But if you ever go up to the base of one, they're absolutely gigantic. It's really really impressive.
And there's a non-trivial amount of birds that are killed by getting hit by wind turbine blades every year. So just thought everyone should know that.
Right.
All right. And last but not least, let's hit topic number 8 here, which is sewing machines. So, machines... Go ahead.
Know how sewing machines work, but it's still incredible that a machine can do all of, like, take a single thread and, like, thread it around to tie things together just by essentially poking it a bunch and, you know, doing some other stuff. But
yeah, it's really cool, and it's kind of related to what I was going to say, which is if you don't know how they work, it just seems like kind of magic how it just like pokes it like over and over again, and then you wind up with the thread going through properly, like sewing.
Right.
And if you're interested, go ahead and search up like a GIF of the mechanism, because it's pretty cool. But so when I was in 7th grade, 8th grade, I don't remember the exact grade, 7th or 8th grade, I had to take kind of like a home ec class, and one of the aspects of the class was sewing, so I learned how to use a sewing machine, and it's been long enough that I don't really remember much anymore. But it's pretty interesting. What I do remember is that there's a lot of different things you have. It's not super easy. I mean, once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. Relatively, but it's like you have to like do a bunch of stuff before you can just start pressing the pedal and moving your cloth through the sewing machine. And it's interesting, I think, all the different kind of settings that at least the ones that we were working with had, you know, to like do different kind of stitches or whatever. So I don't know, that's my thoughts on sewing machines.
If I was going to make a kind of a general comment that it's really impressive, among many other things, that sewing machines are so old.
Yeah,
because
that's
they're
true.
So mechanically complex, and it seems like a couple hundred years ago, things just weren't that good, but there they were making sewing machines and stuff.
Right. Well,
so
the thing
clearly
is,
it was...
over 100 years ago, they didn't really have electricity. Or no, that's not true. They did. But they had sewing machines before electricity, right?
If you had to guess, when do you think the first sewing machine was created? According to this Wikipedia article that I'm looking at.
Well, it depends on what you consider a sewing machine, I guess. Because I know for like hundreds of years we've had like spinning wheels or whatever. I don't really know what they are. But like modern sewing machines, I would guess 170 years. 1850. That's just a ballpark guess. What does it say?
Not a bad guess. This says 1790.
Wow. Right, so the thing is they've had sewing machines since before electricity, so right. I guess that's kind of what leads to that. Like, in the 1790s, a lot of the stuff we have today that's powered by electricity they couldn't have had because they didn't have electricity. So presumably they powered the sewing machine by, I don't know, foot power.
Crank
turning a crank, something like that.
Kind of looks like it was a cranked thing. It also uses a slightly different mechanism as far as I can tell.
Makes sense. So Yeah, that's all I got on sewing machines.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at an hour 15, so I think that we can wrap it up here. This episode kind of flew by, I think. And we got to read a rule during the episode, so it's always good when that happens. All right. Pretty much what?
Checked off every box that you would want from an episode.
And we said the email too. And we talked about sports for way too long. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this has been
Joel.